For those participating via Zoom, please state your name when making a comment or asking a question. The MAG public comment process allows members of the public to comment on items that fall under MAG's jurisdiction. If you would like to comment at today's meeting, please complete the request to speak form. MAG staff can assist you with any questions you may have. If you parked in the garage, a validation stamp is available on the counter. If you purchased a transit ticket to come to the meeting, please see staff for a ticket. Hearing assisted devices are available for MAG staff. We will now begin the meeting with a roll call of all members. Mohammed?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, member of the Transportation Safety Committee. This is a roll call for quorum for the ITS committee meeting. Rackles Chats from City of Patchy Junction.
Here.
Sergeant Craig Martin from Arizona Department of Public Safety. Susan Anderson from Arizona Department of Transportation.
Present. Good morning.
Dr. Zhu Zhong Zhao from Arizona State University. Ward Stanford from City of Avondale.
Here.
John Willett from City of Buckeye. Elisa Dole from City of Chandler.
Here.
Tessa Whistle from City of El Mirage.
Here.
Kieran Jordan from Federal Highway Administration.
Present.
Mike Sutton from Town of Gilbert.
Here.
Ruben Lopez from City of Glendale.
Good morning.
Hugh Biak from City of Goodyear.
Present.
Scott Notes from City of Maricopa.
Good morning. Present.
David Lucas from Maricopa County Department of Transportation.
Here.
Micah Henry from City of Mesa.
Here. Good morning.
Steve McKenzie from City of Peoria.
Here.
Simon Ramos from City of Phoenix.
Here.
Christopher Wanamaker from Pinal County Public Works. Marshall Regal from Town of Queen Creek.
Hi, this is Amy Lin from Town Queen Creek. I'm filling in for Marshall today.
Thank you. John Huang from City of Scottsdale.
Here.
Albert Garcia from City of Surprise. Ellie Valusin from City of Tempe.
Here.
Marty Ziek from Valley Metro.
Present.
That concludes the roll call, Mr. Chair, and we do have quorum for the meeting.
I did want to say one thing. I do believe that Margaret is attending as well today, but online.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Margaret Herrera, Transportation Safety and Operations Program Manager, attending virtually.
All right. I just want to make sure everyone was aware of that. Albert called in sick today, so. All right. So next is the MAG staff report. We're actually going to, which is mostly Karan announcing, some of his items. We're going to hold that till the end if possible. And I do think there will be time, but if not, then we'll move to item number 5. Oh, I'm sorry. There is an action item. All right. It is an opportunity is provided to members of the public to provide input in person or by written comment to the Intelligent Transportation Systems Committee on items that are not on the agenda that are within the jurisdiction of MAG informational items or on items on the agenda for discussion but not for action. Do we have any items to discuss?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Go ahead.
Just to make a clarification, this item is for information only and there's no action.
All right, thank you, Margaret. So. Back, that's fine. Sorry, I didn't realize there were two sides to this piece of paper. This is my first mistake ever. All right. I have received no request, for the call to audience. MAG also provides the opportunity of members of the public to submit written comments via the MAG website. Any comments received 2 hours prior to the meeting have been shared with the committee members in advance of the meeting for consideration and will be included in the formal meeting minutes. Staff, have we received any online written comments for the call to audience?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any written comments for the call to the audience.
Thank you, Mohammed. So we'll go ahead and move on to item number 3, which is the one that I started earlier. This item is on the agenda just for information, and we'll go ahead and address this at the end after item number 5, providing that there is time. So with that, we'll proceed on to item number 4, unless I'm wrong. Is that correct, Mohammed? All right. All right. Item number 4, approval of the July 10th, 24 meeting minutes. Does any member of the committee have any questions on the meeting minutes which were sent out? I'll wait for a moment. Hearing none, prior to approval of the meeting minutes, there is an opportunity for members of the public to comment. Have we received any requests for this item?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any online written comments for this agenda item.
Thank you, Mohammed. If hearing that there were no comments, is there a motion to approve the agenda for item number 4?
I move to approve the minutes.
All right, we have Scott, not Eduardo, Dave Maricopa, who is, by the way, retiring in a month. Going ahead and making a motion to approve the agenda. Do we have a second?
Mike, I'll second that.
And Micah has given us a second. Will those participating in the meeting online take part in a voice vote by turning on your cameras and unmuting your audio? We need to see your faces of everyone participating in the voice vote. For those who cannot or do not want to turn on their cameras, staff will conduct a roll call vote. Staff will only call on those virtual participants who did not turn on their camera. Members, please leave your cameras on until after the roll call vote so that staff can count the people's names whose cameras are not on. Can I have a voice vote of those in the room and those online? Those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Members, please leave your cameras on. Staff, can you take a roll call of the members participating virtually who did not turn on their cameras?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John Willett from City of Buckeye.
Oh, my camera got turned off. Sorry about mistake.
Ward Stanford from City of Avondale.
Aye.
And that concludes the roll call for members opting not to turn on their cameras.
All right. With that, we'll move on to item number 5, fiscal year 2025 TSOP project presentations. This item's on the agenda for information and discussion and will be presented by Margaret Herrera, MAG Transportation Safety and Operations Manager. So with that, I'll turn it over to Margaret.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the Intelligent Transportation Systems Committee. Good morning. Next slide, please, Mohammed. just to make sure you can hear me okay. Sound okay. Great. So this year we have an available budget of $500,000 for the fiscal year 2025 projects. That call for projects was released on August 1st of this year. And we are here today to hear presentations on the applications that were submitted and the proposed projects. From here, the qualitative evaluation will be conducted September 6th through 9th. I'm hoping to get the applications and the evaluation sheet up a little bit prior to Friday, but we'll send out an email regarding that. We'll come back at the November 6th meeting to recommend a list of TSOP projects for fiscal year 2025. And from there, those will move on to committee approval process finally in regional council in January. And there's a typo here. It should say January 2025. We'll move forward from there with the consultant assignments in January, and we are looking forward to kicking off these projects in February of 2025. Next slide, please, Mohammed. So we received 11 applications this year. You can see it's about almost $70,000 over the $500,000 available amount. I do want to point out the agenda that we sent out last week may look a little bit different to you. We did have a modification on one of the Glendale applications. I believe they removed one or two intersections on one of their projects, and so the amount of the request has been decreased. Next slide, please. So we have applications, as you can see, from Avondale, Gilbert, Glendale, Maricopa County, City of Maricopa, Maricopa County, and the City of Scottsdale. So we will move forward in the alphabetical fashion, as you can see here on the screen. I do want to remind presenters that you have 5 minutes so that we can get through this. That does not include questions. Members of the committee, feel free to chime in and ask questions that you might have of the presenters. With that, next slide, please. I'd like to invite Ward Stanford from the City of Avondale to present his first project.
Good morning, members of the committee. The city is requesting to do a signal retiming project on Avondale Boulevard. The amount of intersections will be 14. The number of timing plans will be 4 for the AM, midday, PM, and weekend. We do have COM to all locations. It was last retimed in 2001, and the current estimated cost is $69,100. The length of the project will go from Thomas Road down to Lower Buckeye. And the issue out there is we retimed it in 2021, and it worked quite well, but we have had a tremendous amount of growth since then. We have had a high school, 3,500 student high school come online. We have another large high school already online here. We have an elementary school online. We have added a Hawk signal there nearby the elementary school just south of MC 85. We've added 3 new intersections along the whole corridor, one being Lower Buckeye, one being at Thomas, and one being at Canto Boulevard by the 3,500 new high school. We also are experiencing significant single-family growth south of Lower Buckeye down along Broadway Road, and the primary route for that Alomar project and the others down there is Avondale Boulevard. We've also had to remove I-10 from the coordination due to some high-volume conditions that we have not been able to adjust for. And we are also considering reconfiguring the I-10 phasing and operation on Avondale. We operate that signal. Next slide, please. And I assume I'm supposed to go through this qualitative assessment, or is that something to wait for people to ask questions on, Margaret?
Yes, you just answer the questions yourself and
Okay.
there's no presentation with it. Just respond to each of the 4 questions.
Okay. How does this project meet the stated goals of the TSOP program? The goals are adjusting signal timings for traffic changes, and we have certainly had traffic changes. The current coordination, some of the signals we have taken out of coordination due to additions and or capacity issues from the old timings, and as well as we've had a number of new signals come online. So it meets number 1. How will the project provide real world improvements for the surrounding areas? One, we're hoping to get MC 85 into the coordination. We're going to also look to improve the operation of I-10 overchange of the TI, but hopefully to get most of the signals back into coordination again. When we did have coordination previously, Avondale drove quite well, but little by little, we have taken some of them out and back into free condition due to various circumstances. So we expect the real world improvements to be to improve the progression again, reduce travel times, give it a consistent sense of travel time so that planning can be more effective, reduce pollution, certainly reduce the frustrations that we have out there. What are the unique attributes or circumstances of the project? Again, the I-10 traffic interchange, the MC 85 highway, the 2 high schools, 1 elementary school with a Hawk. Each of those are providing elements to the corridor that at the moment are disturbances in the progression. Is this project being part of the local or regional traffic improvement plans? It is part of our local. We're going back through trying to retime all of our major corridors, Dysart recently being done, and some changes to that TI. We have a project going on right now to deal with 99th Avenue, south of the I-10 interchange, up to 99th, up to McDowell, and then east over to the 101. So trying to connect the 101 loop and the I-10 through 99th and McDowell better than it is currently, and help with the congestion in those areas. And those are items that the city has been desiring us to work on. And lastly, we are trying to get Avondale back into a good coordination condition, flowing traffic better and reducing stops and frustration. And that's my presentation.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for Ward.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hey, Margaret. Ward, for this analysis, you're not considering the TI at I-10 for this?
No, we are.
Oh,
It's included. Yes, we are looking to possibly change its phasing and characteristics, but it is included.
Cool.
This is a point where it is open for questions, I believe, from Margaret. Right, Margaret?
That's absolutely correct. I just wanted to apologize earlier, but I think Ward kind of set the standard on what we're to do with this last slide here. So thank you, Ward.
Okay.
Any additional questions?
We have one from Ellie.
Yeah, thanks. Ward, is the Hawk signal intended to stay free, or is that going to be coordinated as well?
We are still it's at the moment it is free. We have been working previously with MacDOT at MC 85 to try and coordinate it with that. We've not yet reached an agreement on that. We hope to revisit again on this project, but I cannot say whether we'll be successful at getting it coordinated or with it still being free.
Thanks.
Are there any other questions? If not, Margaret, we can move on to the next one.
All right. I'd like to invite Gilbert, the town of Gilbert, to present on the first of their 2 presentations, I believe.
I think there are
Or
basically 2.
There's 3.
2 of them are the same corridor. They split it up due to cost.
Okay, take it away, Mike.
All righty. This project is on Power Road, basically from Verona, which is the edge of where Gilbert and Mesa meet, down south. I can't even think of the name of the last signal there. I guess it's probably Village Parkway. Just so you know, our studies group put this together. I'm presenting on it. They did a great job, and we did talk about it. But anyways, that basically encompasses all of the signals along Power Road, end to end where we touch Queen Creek / McDodd and where we touch Mesa. While they are not directly involved with this retiming, we do always give them the information and kind of leave it up to them whether or not they want, to make any changes in their jurisdiction. Along with that, when our studies group was taking a look at this, there were some signals within a half mile or less that were adjacent to Power Road that they wanted to sort of take a look at and make sure that, those cycle lengths were matching what we ended up coming up with along Power Road to have some level of, cross coordination. Next slide, please. This project consists of 15 intersections. This has never been retimed with one of these projects. We've done some internal things, a few even lately to try to make things a little bit better, but we thought it would be great to go ahead, get this done and have, something documented that kind of shows what we're doing so that when we do get requests or questions or we need to go back and reference it, it gives us, something to work from. We have communications at every one of these, both fiber and there's a few that are on radio, but mostly fiber. That's why it says unknown for last time retime, but our estimated cost on this is $73,500. It is a significant regional corridor. This is kind of going into the next questions, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. Power Road serves both Mesa, Gilbert, and Queen Creek, and some, Maricopa County areas. As a major regional corridor, it experiences high traffic volumes. The community impact is given its role as a major thoroughfare. Any improvements to Power Road directly impact the safety, efficiency, and convenience of the residents and commuters. And there are some schools on the Queen Creek side along this corridor, but they're a little ways into Queen Creek. Next slide, please. The qualitative assessment, how this project meets the stated goals of the optimization program. Well, basically, this corridor hasn't been touched in so long. It can't be anything but improved with, what's existing out there. We did make a few changes, like I said, recently, because there were a few, various cycle lengths that were running out there. So there was no coordination as much north-south as there could have been. And we do run Power and Rittenhouse. We were running it, free. We did try to put a little something else in there to try to help out. And part of that is because Mesa runs, Williamsfield free as well. And anyways, trying to take a look into that and seeing if we can make, any improvements or changes there just to help out the people that live and commute in this area. And that also answers question 2, I would say. And the unique attributes or circumstances of this project, basically the most unique thing is it just hasn't been touched in so long. There is a railroad that passes through here, right at Rittenhouse / Pecos where it would have aligned. And we also have a couple of, one big park that's right by here. There's also EVIT, and it's right there by the airport at Williams Gateway as well. So there are a few things, even though EVIT's right in the middle of it, but it, touches the airport as well. Is this project part of a local or regional traffic improvement plans? Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly what Mesa may or not, have planned in this area, but we will work with them to try to make the most of this project, even though they aren't officially named in it. And with that, are there any questions? Micah, I see you have one already.
Just a comment that we will be evaluating Power Road as it's a significant corridor for us as well. So.
Okay, so it would be an opportunity if that's the case with MAG of hopefully combining these with the same consultant, but if not, it's okay. But
No, we don't have another project. We're just doing it.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
thought you
but
were-
we'll work with you.
Yeah,
for sure.
that would be great, to try to, make some, at least have an understanding of each other and make the most of the situation. Because I know we sometimes don't always agree on everything.
What are you talking about?
But most of the time, but we always know what each other are doing. All right, with that, are there any other questions for this project?
Mr. Chair, members of the ITS committee, just a clarification on slide 16. Mohammed, if you could go back to that one. Can you clarify, I think you had down 4 timing plans for this. I just wanted to make sure because we currently have an X there next to timing plans. We should have a number there.
Yeah, they should have put again, like I said, our studies group put this together, but we on this corridor do run an AM peak, a PM peak, a midday, and an overnight plan, and it's never been touched. So that's probably ideally, if that calculates out as far as, to the cost they came up with, then yes. If it doesn't, then they may just be looking at the 3. And I
Yes.
apologize for not knowing that, but I do, that's the case.
No worries. You might want to just go back and check to make sure that as we move forward, especially important in November, that we have the correct numbers down. And the number of timing plans does get calculated into the final cost. And so, yeah, you might just want to
Will not
verify that.
exceed that cost. I will promise everyone, no matter what it is. I just don't happen to have the answer right in front of me. But if it's 3 timing plans, it's 3. Ellie's got something. It's 4.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
it is
4.
4. She said.
And based on
It's written on
based on the cost estimate, that's
the way it came
it's
up.
fallen in place to have 4 plants there.
I
So-
appreciate my mathematicians. I would have thought that Scott would have come up with that, wanting to teach math, but that's okay, Scott. All right. Are there any other questions on this? And Ellie, did you have another question? Okay. Well, I appreciate your guys' input. Thank you. I'll wait for another second. If not, I'll move on to the next 2 projects. These are similar in nature. Okay, so I'll try to make this, most of it will probably be covered in the first one. And we basically took Val Vista and tried to split it in 2, Williamsfield being the median point in this case. So from Val Vista to Williamsfield, this is a little bit different project. And I told them that they could go ahead and put it together and we could suggest it to the committee and kind of see how they felt about it. It is only looking at a PM peak plan. We've done a few, we'll say samples on Lindsay in particular. We've kind of messed with a larger cycle length there. And go ahead and go on to the next slide if you'd like, and just so you can see the corridor in question. And basically Simon and Clinton are the ones that are working on some of this a little bit more than myself. I mean, we have meetings about it, and they think that if we move up, right now we run 122nd cycle length here, and it was retimed about 5 or 6 years ago, if I remember right. It'll probably say on the next slide, but they think they can get a little bit better level of cross coordination. So they're hoping that they can go ahead and just look at just the PM plan, kind of evaluate it between the 122nd plan and I think the 142nd plan, I believe that they're suggesting. The next slide will say real quick there. I just want to make sure I'm not wrong. Yeah, 142nd plan. I was a little hesitant with some of this, but I said if they wanted to draw this up for consideration, and this is for both ends of this corridor, it would be, and we'll just kind of see how that, the committee accepted this, but there is an opportunity if this works out well. And these 2 guys are great at what they do. We have a good team there, and there's a lot of support with it also, where we can maybe expand this throughout the city if the determination is that it's made a feasible difference. Currently, I'm not even following the script that's here, but currently I know it's more directional in nature, and we're hoping that we can make this a little bit more bi-directional in order to, accommodate, the vehicles traveling in both directions. Right now, we just say, hey, there's more people here. We care about this direction. And it works well. I mean, it's not like it's bad. It works pretty well, but the other direction does suffer. And we think if we're able to bump that up just a bit, we can improve north-south and even create the potential of improving the green band enough. Obviously, a little bit of delay in going east-west, but we're just looking to kind of evaluate it, justify it, and come up with a timing plan, for that. And I'll read what they have here. It'll justify high traffic volumes are similar northbound and southbound, but currently signal progression only accommodates one direction of travel, but it is the one with the higher volume. Potential high return in benefits, reduce start and stops, for drivers, improve traffic flow, potential for better synchronization with adjacent signals, and potential for north-south, east-west coordination, and a reduction in crash frequency. An example of this, and I don't know that they even have it on here, but I'm guessing they probably don't. But we actually did, like I said, do this on Lindsay Road, and we've actually seen about I think it's a 14% reduction in crashes going to the higher cycle lengths. And they're just trying to, figure out why, some of that is the case. And so, anyways, it is kind of a little bit different than normal, but we're just looking at one timing plan and basically moving to 140-second cycle length and the pluses and minuses of doing so. So vote as you will. This particular one does involve 14 intersections. It is only one timing plan, just the PM. And there's communications, fiber on this one in particular, at all of the intersections. It was last retimed in 2019, and the estimated cost for that is $20,400. Next project, please, or next slide, actually. So how does this project meet the stated goals of the optimization program? Like I said, it's a little bit of a one-off, to be completely honest, but I do think that there is an opportunity here to trying to help all of us, even within Gilbert, get on the same page and feel like if this is something that we should expand and consider and move on from going from this 120 to a 140 just in the PM is what we're thinking about. And how will this project provide real world improvements to the surrounding areas? Obviously, if we're moving traffic, a little bit better and more efficiently, and being able to give people the time that they need to make each of these movements without increasing the delay, too much. It could be wonderful. Some of the unique attributes or circumstances there are all along this corridor, and I'm kind of speaking about both parts of it a bit so that hopefully the next, project will go a little smoother for you. But there are quite a few schools along this project. I'm trying to think. There's a few small parks or trail crossings as well, some of which are coordinated and some of which are not currently. It just depends on how much they were being used and how much of an impact they were having on traffic previously and whether we did or didn't coordinate them. The intention here is to kind of evaluate that. And, that's just with the one plan currently for this project, and whether we should or shouldn't, because that obviously, at the very least, there'll be a half cycle or whatever, if you want to say that, because that's a long time to wait. So,
Mr. Chair, I'm going to have to stop you there. You've gone a little bit past your 5 minutes on this one.
That's all right. I appreciate you, Margaret. And that's about it. The next project, I don't know if that's included in my 5 minutes, is exactly the same thing, only the south half. So if there are
you do get a new 5 minutes. Did you want to take questions on that one first, or?
Sure. And I'm willing to take questions on all of it if you want, but basically this next one just goes from Williamsfield all the way south to Riggs Road, where we touch Chandler on one side. And then if you go far enough south, there's Reservation, but Chandler maintains everything which there are no signals currently south of Riggs. But other than that, it's the same. And Basha High School is down at one end of that. That is one of the high schools that's on this corridor. But I'm willing to take it. And this corridor, I guess, does touch the edge of Mesa on the north, which is where US 60 is. There's a few signals in between, and it does cross the 202, and that signal at the 202 is included as well. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Mike.
Go ahead, Micah.
For communication, you have comm to all the signals into the south?
Fiber all the way down to Riggs.
Perfect.
Yes.
I had a question. It's Alyssa from Chandler. Have you guys, so you may have mentioned this, is this the first time that you would do a 140-second cycle length?
It is not. We did something in-house just on Lindsay, and it hasn't been there for very long. Well, it's been there long enough because it started during part of last year up to this year. I don't think it's been a complete year, but they've seen a reduction in crashes on Lindsay Road going to that higher cycle length. My suspicion is, if you want to know my suspicion, anyways, is that part of that is because we were finally allowed on, especially at some of those protected permissive intersections, to provide a little more time to those left turns so people weren't having to turn on some of the gaps, because there was most of that reduction was in left turns. And that's my suspicion. Go ahead, Micah. He has a question.
For Gilbert's overall timing plans involved in-
122nd and the AM and PM.
and the
That's-
AM and PM. Do you guys have like a boundary at Ray for your timing strategy?
Let me see the map again real quick. If you can go back one slide. I'm just trying to see one more because he's talking about the first project. If you can go back to that first map, I just want to make sure we're looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
You mean a boundary at Ray how?
Like where you favor Ray east-west versus?
No.
Okay.
No, we do have whatever level, we know that this is going to make an impact. Yes, we do currently. Okay, we try to make some accommodation for east-west. We feel like this 140 seconds is going to open up those green bands and give us a chance, which will end up, having to obviously deal with the repercussions of that. And there may even be some future projects here, in the next cycle from that. But in the interim, yes, if we feel like there is a large problem caused, if by implementing this 140-second cycle length, we will accommodate for that in the interim and maybe bring, a project later on. But no, the one that's good. It is worth mentioning. That's one of the reasons Williamsfield is a break. We have good east-west coordination on Williamsfield that was actually from a even earlier project, here out of this, committee. And that does have east-west coordination. That as well, is hugely directional. I mean, if you drive down it, you will not question, that, hey, it's great in this direction, it's terrible in that one. But that is because of how many people, are heading, westbound in the morning and eastbound in the evening. Are there any other questions?
I got one more, Mike.
No, you're good.
The
Until
south-
Margaret tells us we're done.
Okay.
You're good.
The south half of the project for Williamsfield down to Riggs, when was the last time it was retimed?
From Williamsfield down to Riggs?
Yeah.
From Val Vista? Go back to that slide just because I don't want to go off of whatever data was provided. Is there one more up? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I guess one down. I was wrong. It said 2019, I believe, but go ahead. One more. Yeah, 2019.
2019.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I'd given Clinton the information from the past submittals when I was part of them, and I know this one was part of it, so he would have taken it from there. Even though my name's on this, it's all over Clinton, so. All right, are there any other questions from anyone? If not, Margaret, we can move on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll move forward with Glendale. We have Ruben Lopez, Transportation Systems Manager from the City of Glendale, to provide his presentation. And they have 3 projects.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
City of Glendale is requesting signal timing improvements along 59th Avenue across the whole corridor that spans in Glendale. 59th Avenue spans 12 miles throughout Glendale, and it has 37 traffic signals along that corridor. As you can see, it spans from Camelback all the way up to Mohawk Lane. Deer Valley was part of the original application for this project, but it was removed. That signal runs in a free operation, and we felt it was okay to keep it that way. Next slide, please. 59th Avenue is obviously a heavily utilized corridor. A lot of traffic traveling north and south on this. And believe it or not, a lot of it travels all the way through from north or to the south. Right now, currently is running a 135-second cycle length in the morning that favors southbound. And in the afternoon, it transitions over to a northbound favored cycle length or northbound progression, and that creeps up to 145-second cycle. In the morning hours from 5 a.m. to 8 a.m., the traffic signals around Loop 101 on the north side of the city utilize a 180-second cycle length, and that is to accommodate high volumes coming off of the freeway and exiting onto the freeway. This particular area has been under the microscope here in the city due to a lot of resident complaints of congestion around Loop 101. The bridge is kind of a choke point on that side of the city for traffic. So we worked in tandem with ADOT to increase the cycle lengths in the AM and PM peak hours. There is no midday timing plan for this corridor. It runs 135 all morning and 145 all afternoon into the evening. In the off-peak hours at night, it does transition to a 120-second cycle length as the volumes lighten up. And on weekends, we run a midday plan, which is also 120 seconds. The midday plan on the weekends isn't favored directionally. It is basically what the city did was try to balance the stops between both directions along the whole corridor. The city has two colleges along 59th Avenue, along with Banner Thunderbird Medical Center. So it is heavily used more on the northern side of the city. East and west traffic is a little bit heavier on the south side of the city, Glendale Avenue, Bethany Home Road, and Camelback Road. The significant amount of residential and commercial development is happening in various parts of the corridor, but these projects are more being requested for future considerations for the Loop 101 widening project. All the timing that for this corridor has been done in-house. It's never been touched by an outside agency, and it was last retimed completely in 2021. But over the last 3 years, obviously, several tweaks have been made for construction. Glendale is improving roadways and expanding to the west. This project won't affect that expansion, but Glendale has a large focus on pavement improvement, especially on 59th and 67th Avenues. So we are constantly retiming, tweaking, and using travel times to make improvements along the corridor, I would say on a monthly basis almost. Next slide. Question number 1 here. Obviously, this corridor is probably the number 1 roadway that we pay attention to in Glendale right now. There are some political implications as well, as the corridor is heavily used by individuals that travel to and from work near and around City Hall, and also use it to travel south in the morning to head west towards the Westgate Entertainment District. The corridor runs really well right now. We wouldn't want to stray from its current cycle lengths. I think the purpose of this request is to look into split and offset optimizations. In the morning, there are no stops southbound from Pinnacle Peak all the way to Camelback. So northbound suffers a little bit, but it's not too bad. And in the afternoon, there are no stops from Camelback to Deer Valley Road. I'm sorry, I said the wrong intersection at the top. It is Deer Valley. There are no stops. You could encounter a stop or some slowdowns around the 101 as it is heavily congested, but we're looking to improve progression along the corridor as we will be impacted in the near future with Loop 101 widening project. The unique
Thank you,
circumstance.
Ruben.
Is that 5 minutes?
You've hit your 5 minutes, and I just I have a clarifying question for just administration of the program itself. You mentioned just now that you don't see that you don't want to change the signal timings necessarily, that this is more of an offset optimization. However, your application has designated this as a signal retiming. That might change your request amount as well.
Yes.
Margaret, I did want to make one statement. He did mention that it was a split optimization,
Okay.
so that would require counts and
Gotcha.
such.
It's sufficient. We're not looking to change that. We're just looking for split and offset optimizations.
Okay, gotcha.
Hey, Ruben, this is Mike over at City Mesa. Just got a quick question for you. For the 34 intersections, are you guys is the project including counts, traffic, turning movement counts for AM and PM for each of these intersections?
From past experience, no, we would probably focus in one specific area for that, where we think the highest volumes would be, and then we would reflect back on that.
My other question is for operations at the 101 interchange. Are you guys looking at phase sequencing for that one, or is it just again splits and offset?
Splits and offsets. That intersection has actually been rephased twice because of the amount of complaints we've received from the public. ADOT took it upon themselves. There was even discussion of trading ownership of the intersection. That did not go through. This was many years ago, but ADOT has changed the sequencing twice, which required them to go in and rewire the intersection essentially. So I don't think that would change necessarily. It would just look to improve flow in the area of the freeway right there. Like I said, it's a challenging area. It's very congested. The bridge is a choke point. And the phasing that they have in there now seems to be working best from previous operations over the last 7 or 8 years. That took a lot of coordination with ADOT, obviously, but right now, the amount of complaints that we get from the public are 0 to none as part of the retiming and rephasing that's happened around that area.
I guess my only question would be, it sounds like things are working pretty well there and you're hoping, to just optimize, the offsets on that. What level, so you're not hoping to see a huge level of improvement. I'm just wondering, hoping to optimize those offsets, what are the problems that led up to, I guess, needing to optimize those offsets? Are you seeing some backups like in the left turns or what?
Well,
Offset splits, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like you, Mike, these applications were put together by the city traffic engineer. All the details of the request were not explained to me, so the idea would be to look at future impacts for construction on the northern side and how it would impact traffic also traveling south. We know that the project in the future on Loop 101 is a lot of Glendale's streets are going to be used as kind of like a reroute as the freeway is being reconstructed. So we're just looking to improve the area in general. Specifically, it's going to be the same for the next 2 presentations as well. You're just looking into the near future and to see if any improvements can be made.
Hey, Ruben, this is Mike again. Sorry. For 59th Avenue, is that corridor carrying the most traffic for Glendale out of everybody?
I would say Camelback is.
Camelback.
Bethany Home and Glendale Avenue are up there, but I would say 59th and 67th Avenues are the second and third most traveled corridors in Glendale. Glendale has kind of a weird shaped city. It's like a backwards L. We don't have a large grid network. So a lot of our focus is north, south, east, west, north, south on the northern part of the city and central part, and then east, west on the southern part.
Are there any other questions or can we move on to the next project? All right.
So this is similar to 59th Avenue. Glendale is requesting basically the same thing. We're looking to improve splits and offsets along 67th Avenue from Camelback to Pinnacle Peak Road. that is 13 miles and 32 traffic signals from north to south. Currently, this is similar to 59th Avenue. It runs a 135-second cycle length that favors southbound in the AM peak hours and transitions over to 145-second cycle length in the PM peak hours, favoring northbound. Next slide. Again, this is a heavily utilized corridor within Glendale. That's why the ITS group felt the need to use higher cycle lengths to keep people moving, especially around Olive Avenue and Bell Road and near the freeway on the north side. There is a lot of new development happening around Abrazo Arrowhead Hospital. The Phoenix Children's Hospital is a new addition to the area, and a lot of new residences have popped up around Greenway Road and down near Thunderbird Road. Sorry, let me back up. Kind of lost my train of thought there. So essentially, Glendale's looking to accomplish the same task that they are for 59th Avenue. We're not looking to expand beyond or size down cycle lengths. We're just looking to improve splits and offsets for the corridor. This corridor actually favors southbound a little bit longer than 59th Avenue. So the idea was to have northbound or southbound progression in the morning on 67th and 59th. And 67th would remain southbound until 3 p.m. while 59th transitions to northbound around 11 a.m. And the purpose or the goal of that was to have one heavily used corridor progressing southbound through the midday hours, and then have 59th Avenue progressing northbound. So you kind of have opposite progressions for both corridors. This will also be affected by the Loop 101 widening project in the near future. Also forgot to mention that all of these signals, with the exception of 2, are on fiber optics. The last timing that I know of was around 2021. I'm not sure how that got left unknown, but this is similar to 59th. We are always monitoring this intersection from the TMC here, or this corridor. There's a lot of construction in Glendale, a lot of roadway improvements. Recently, from Glendale or from Missouri up to Cactus, Glendale has implemented new bike lanes on the east and west sides of 67th Avenue. So a lot of improvements in the area, especially around Grand Avenue as well. Next slide, please. I think I answered all these questions in the first one. It's basically the same approach for both of these projects. We're just looking into the near future to improve traffic flow north and south on 67th Avenue. This one does not run 180 seconds on Loop 101. 135 and 145 work just fine for that interchange there. Right now, the corridors run pretty good as well, but we're just looking to make tweaks here and there to improve the area in general. The unique attributes or circumstances of this project would be that just looking into the near future again for Loop 101 improvements, and regional traffic improvement plans. I would say that those play a part in working with ADOT, which they agreed to partner with us on these applications, just around Loop 101 and the neighborhood signals and more signals that feed into areas like Bell Road, which is highly used, obviously, to improve progression along 67th Avenue. Any questions?
Hey, Ruben, you said you had comm to almost everything on fiber. Are the remaining ones on radio?
Yes. We have connectivity to 96% of our signals in the city. The signals that do not have connectivity are further west, where the city is expanding near Northern Parkway and Luke Air Force Base.
For 67th Avenue, are you maintaining the same kind of signal strategy that you're posing on 59th, where you've got different cycle lengths in AM and PM?
Yep, they run the same cycle lengths. They just transition from north to southbound progression at different points in the day. And on the weekend, it runs 120 seconds. Same approach. We're just balancing the stops between north and southbound on the weekends.
Are there any other questions from anyone on this project? If not, we can move on to the next one.
City of Glendale is requesting retiming for splits and offsets along 75th Avenue from Bell Road to Deer Valley Road. This is a 3-mile span with 10 traffic signals along the corridor. You can see there, well, the north part of the corridor, north of 101, all those 3 signals there run in a free operation at this time. They've never had coordination. They've always run free, and we're looking to get those retimed. So those would need to be looked at for cycle length improvements or additions, I would say. The signals south of the freeway, Utopia, Union Hills, East Mall Drive, and Camino San Javier do run 120-second cycle lengths. But from my understanding, in the 8 years I've been with Glendale, this corridor has not been timed or retimed in a very long time. I would say in 8 years, about. There is no, I believe the signals between Loop 101 and Bell Road does not have directional progression. It is just balanced between the two directions, north and south. This area has, especially around the freeway, has seen some new development, which required us to retime Aspera Boulevard, which is just north of Loop 101. So we do run a cycle length in the morning to help with southbound progression. 75th and Deer Valley sees high volumes as well. There's a lot of traffic coming off of Deer Valley and traveling onto Deer Valley in the AM and peak hours. So we'd like to improve timing, especially on the north side, since they run free, and also open that up for the south side of the corridor near Bell Road and Arrowhead Loop Mall. And that's pretty much it. Next slide, please. Like we said, we don't have optimization on the north side of 75th Avenue, north of 101. So we'd like to get that added in for this project to improve traffic flow for the residential area, and then also the businesses on going towards Peoria on Deer Valley. We'd like to improve that. Essentially 1 and 2 answer the same project. We're just looking to improve the corridor from Deer Valley to Bell Road for the residents and folks that are using it to reach places of business. The unique circumstances, I would say again, are looking into the near future for Loop 101 widening project, especially just need a little extra help north of the freeway there on 75th Avenue. And this would be working with ADOT as well to improve timing near the freeway. Any questions?
I've just got one, Ruben. I know Micah already asked a version of this, but after hearing all three presentations, if you were to rank these in order of importance to Glendale anyways, because this last one sounds to me like it has the best chance of, more bang for your buck, I guess, because nothing currently exists. But would it still be ranked 1 through 3, basically how you presented them then, of importance of what you'd like to see?
No, I would say 75th Avenue would rank number 1.
Okay.
9th Avenue would be 2nd and 67th would be 3rd.
Hey, Ruben, do you guys, I made a mistake. I didn't see if you guys were running Loop 101 and the interchange there on 75th. Is that, you guys run that one?
Well, that belongs to ADOT. The signal runs free most of the day. Like I said, we just share some common cycle length and some offsets for southbound progression going towards the freeway.
So even though it runs free all the time, or do they switch to coordinated?
Coordinate in the morning with us.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is Bell Road adaptive?
It is.
Are there any other questions for Ruben on the projects presented? If not, we can move on to the next one.
Good morning. The project is about 40 miles south of downtown Phoenix. And the project involves Smith-Hankey Road, which is also known as State Route 238. And John Wayne Parkway is also known as State Route 347. Next slide. The particular corridor is Smith-Hankey Road, and there are 5 intersections that have signals, and it's about a 2-mile corridor. And it was timed quite a while ago, and we need to improve the timing. The intersection of John Wayne Parkway and Smith-Hankey Road is the busiest intersection in the city, and it also has the most crashes. It also has a large percentage of trucks. We frequently get requests from ADOT to have oversized loads come through, review, and we approve most of those that come through this intersection. Currently, we have timing for the morning and evening peak hours, and our estimated level of service right now is E, and we'd like to improve that to level service of C. Next slide. As mentioned before, John Wayne Parkway is the highest priority north-south corridor, and Smith-Hankey Road is the highest priority east-west corridor. And the city is growing very, very rapidly. 347, we have 12 total traffic signals in the corridor. And we recently took that over from ADOT. It's been about 2 years ago. However, we just got the 10th signal last month from ADOT, and we will get, we don't know when we're getting the other 2. The other 2, it's an issue with Ak-Chin. So we're waiting for them to give us approval for us to work on their property. So that's another story. So this State Route 238 is our highest need corridor in the city for retiming. Next slide. This corridor, the improvement traffic signal timing, because of the rapid growth, will improve the safety. I mentioned before, 238, 347 is #1 in the city for crashes. So we hope to improve that, which will improve the traffic flow throughout the entire corridor. It also, right now, 238 in this corridor is 4 lanes with a raised median, and in some areas it's 5 lanes with a 2-way left turn lane. And we hope both 347 is a major corridor, and 238 is also a major corridor. And we hope this project will delay the need for widening the roadway. Number two, anyone going from East Phoenix to San Diego, they drive through this intersection. I drove through the intersection of 238, 347 when I worked for the city of Yuma. I drove through every Monday and every Thursday. So I'm very familiar with the intersection and with 347 and 238. So it is a very high volumes through this intersection. And also that's why the corridor of Smith-Enke is very critical for us. Unique circumstances. It's very heavy truck traffic. ADOT, we try to tell ADOT we're not going to allow any truck traffic through any oversized truck traffic through here, and they were very alarmed at that. And anyway, we're still negotiating with ADOT whether we're allowing trucks because we have a project that will close this intersection from time to time over the next several months to try to make some improvements through the 238 and 347. ADOT has two projects planned for 347 just north of city limits. One is to pavement preservation, and after that gets done, that's going to be followed by widening 347. So that's ADOT has a very high regard for State Route 347. And actually, they came down 2 weeks ago to give a presentation to our residents regarding 347. So that corridor for ADOT through the city is also important to them. We have communications for the Smith-Enke corridor. Right now, it's via radio. We're working with Crown Castle to get fiber connected to all of all 5 signals.
Thank you, Scott. That's
You're
5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
I do have one. On that corridor, just because I'm remembering back, and I can't even think of what it's called now, but that Rhythm Engineering project.
Correct. Yeah.
that's going
So
through
when we took over 347 Rhythm, we retained Rhythm on 347. And so they also have, that's only north-south only that they're really looking at. So we make tweaks from east-west from time to time, and we will for this corridor too, once they come into retirement.
Is there an intention to add them to that product as well? I mean, just to expand the north-south, or does it already exist? I know it's.
They have they're only doing north-south. They do 347 only. So
Okay.
right now we would work with Rhythm as far as the timing for the 238 corridor.
I have a
Yeah,
question,
Ellie?
Scott. Yeah, you said that there were some improvements being made to 347 and 238 intersection right now.
That hasn't started yet. We will start in a couple weeks,
Okay.
and we're going
you're-
to make some improvements on some of the turning movements. So
And do you know if that construction will be done before this kicks off?
it will be,
in
yes,
February?
it'll be done in January. So if we are successful in getting funding, that project will end perfect timing for the traffic signal opposition program to start.
Are there any other questions for Scott? If not, let's move on to the next one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Good morning, everybody. John Savage, Maricopa County Department of Transportation. We are putting R.H. Johnson Boulevard from Whispering Oaks Drive to 151st Avenue forward for a TSOP submission. Next slide, please. So R.H. Johnson is a corridor that bisects Sun City West, a very large retirement community in Maricopa County. Primary ingress and egress from R.H. Johnson occurs on Grand Avenue and Bell Road. Next slide, please. So the number of intersections is 9. We are asking for 3 timing plans, AM, midday, and PM. We have communications along the corridor. It's all on the Bell Road fiber. It was last retimed in 2015, but that timing evaluation wasn't looking at coordination. The corridor has never been coordinated. All signals currently operate in free. And the estimated cost is $34,700. For the justification, we've got atypical travel patterns along this corridor compared to a lot of the arterials in the valley. We have very unique demographic conditions because the vast majority of the populace is retired and does not have your typical commuting conditions. As I said, it's been historically uncoordinated, but we've had recent requests from like citizen-led HOAs to evaluate coordination along the corridor to reduce stops. We suspect that the continued development in like these satellite communities to the west is contributing to increases in traffic in Sun City West. It's one of the more developed commercial areas in the vicinity. And as these satellite communities are heavily residential focused, there's not a lot of commercial areas for them to go to. So we suspect that travel is increasing in that area because of that. I didn't include the qualitative assessment slides, but what we're really hoping to see out of this is a reduction in travel times along the corridor, reducing delays on RH Johnson. The traffic is moderate, and so we're hoping that we can maintain short cycle lengths that will not impact the side street delay significantly. The unique demographic conditions, are really the unique attributes of this project. Again, this isn't your typical commuter traffic. Everybody isn't trying to get to work at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. We suspect that the typical weekday is going to be fairly similar to the traffic that we're going to see on the weekend. As far as being part of local or regional traffic improvement plans, we don't have a formal plan adopted, but we do have a procurement project that will be making significant detection upgrades in this area, as well as a partnership with Flow Labs right now, which is a analytical tool that incorporates ATS-PM data as well as probe data. And this area is encompassed as part of that. So we will be able to use this as part of that evaluation as well. And I will take any questions.
Mike's off.
Off. Anyways, thank you, Micah. With that Flow Labs project, just because as you are aware, we also are doing Higley Road. I'm sure. Have they made any suggestions for you on that corridor?
So they haven't made any specific suggestions as far as retiming efforts. We have access to the tool and can see what the tool may be loosely recommending. But no specific recommendations as to whether the corridor should remain in free or coordinated, or if it were to be coordinated, what type of cycle length we should be seeing. So nothing specific in that regard.
Okay.
Do you know what the ADT is for RH Johnson?
I do not.
Okay.
I have a question. You said there's atypical commuter patterns. So you're asking for an AM, midday, and PM. Do you know like what time of day those would be implemented if there's not a typical commute time?
We don't know for sure. So the 24-hour count that the TSOP would provide significant insight on that. We expect there to be some type of commuter pattern. There's a hospital located right in the middle of the corridor to the south. And the commercial development we expect has shifts that are probably fairly consistent. So there's going to be a type of commuter traffic, but it's definitely not your typical office environment. So it's not going to be our standard 9 to 5. It's going to be more in line with what we're seeing out of this commercial development in the nearby hospital.
Are there a lot of golf carts on this one?
There's not a ton of golf carts navigating RH Johnson. No.
Is this at all part of any adaptive area as well? Does it cross over like where it would be impacting anything in the area?
So none of the signals are on an adaptive system. It's in the vicinity of Bell Road, but we aren't proposing any changes to Bell Road. And so we're not going to impact the adaptive system at all.
All right. Are there any other questions from anyone on this project? If not, we can move on to the next one.
Mr. Chair, is John in person or is he online?
He is. He's just holding us in suspense. He's got a small smirk on his face right now. Maybe he didn't.
Margaret, thank you.
Okay, go ahead, John. We're coming down the home stretch.
Okay. Mr. Chair and members of the commission, This one is along the Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. To the west is Scottsdale Road. That's kind of like right next to Phoenix. And to the east is 100th Street. That's kind of like a SRP, MIC area. It has 13 signalized intersections. This is very unique because we are serving the Scottsdale Airport traffic and many car dealerships and many offices and restaurants. Highly dense residential areas in this area. The last time it was I think is about 8 years ago, 2016. And we are asked because it has a very heavy pedestrian volumes because of the dense residential area. So we're asking for 4 timing plans. That's including the weekend, because the weekend is just as heavy, if not heavier, during the weekdays. It's a major arterial serving, or I guess I should just all of that, you know, serving the dealerships, offices, shopping centers, different area. Another thing is actually connecting to the 101, and ADOT is doing the 101 widening, and this intersection's kind of change from Spooey to a Diamond interchange. And the estimated cost is about $64,700. Okay. So this one, it hasn't been done. TSOP hasn't been done in more than 5 years. And we're gonna do probably a different cycle length that we have in the system. So to be able to accommodate the pedestrian pet clearance, some of the locations are being widening. And we just don't have enough time with the current cycle that we have now. The unique attributes, services, that's the airport, that they kind of serve traffic at the airport, probably dealerships, offices, and all that. Is this project local or regional? I think it's local right now, but it's adjacent to the City of Phoenix and SRP MIC. Maybe there's future regional improvements. And that's that. Any questions?
Do you guys control Loop 101 or is that ADOT?
We do right now, but we're trying to give it back. Yeah, well, it depends on how it is, right? Well, for this area, we will probably kind of keep them, but we were thinking on the south segment, the 101 down south of Indian Bend, is kind of like the border of SLP, MIC, and Scottsdale. So it's not like right through the city. Yeah, so.
You know the anticipated construction of interchanges?
This weekend, right after Labor Day. So it's actually this weekend. They're gonna set up. Over the weekend, they're gonna set up from Spooey to the TI, to the Diamond TI on Monday. You know how they set up, restripe, all that stuff, temporary.
Yeah.
But they'll be done probably the end of January. That's what they're saying. So we should be in time for the TSOP in March.
Are there any other questions for John? All right, with that, we can move on to the next project. Thank you, John. You did great. See, there's only one question from Micah.
Me again. Okay, so the second project, this one is on Scottsdale Road. I think a lot of people is kind of like know this area. From McDowell Road to Chaparral, basically is from Scottsdale, Old Town to Fashion Square area. is, you know, I mean, I don't need to tell you guys, but it's pretty heavy, high pedestrian volumes all day long, including the weekends. And we've been doing some widening at the intersections, and we are just not able to meet the pad clearance at some of these locations. So this project is gonna have a different, longer cycle length. This one has 19 signalized intersection. We have communication to both projects. Most of them are fiber. I think it's a couple, it's wireless radios. This one is the borderline of the city of Phoenix and also the town of Paradise Valley. So we have kind of unexpected traffic from Phoenix. Seems to be a lot more traffic coming. And the total cost, I think, is about 70,000, 70. Next slide, please. Yeah, about 70,000. Project was, the TSOP, the last TSOP was done kind of like COVID area, COVID time. So it's been a while. Traffic has been picking up. We have a few infield projects, apartments, commercial offices, a lot more apartment are coming in this area. So, and we're asking for, I think the reason we're asking for 3 timing plans is we kind of exceeding the budget. So we're only gonna do AM, PM, and also the weekends. The goal is to increase and improve the coordination between signals. To hopefully reduce traffic, delay, congestion, reduce crashes, increase safety, this area. And the unique attributes, this project is kind of like serving the mall to the mall. There's 2 malls and a lot of restaurants, so a lot of pedestrians walking. And it's right now it's a local project, but hopefully we'll communicate with the city of Phoenix and Paradise Valley to make it a more regional project. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions for John, if you didn't hear him? Got one from Scott.
Yeah. During spring training baseball, is that your peak traffic? And are you gonna do anything special during that month of March?
Yeah, so we have the trolley going up and down, picking up people and then drop them off at a parking right area. It's actually not peak though. Peak is Phoenix Open. That's when a lot of people, we're talking about 200,000 people coming a day. So, but that's the other corridor. That's a faint corridor. It's the one that's serving that. Thanks for that question.
Are there any other questions for John?
Ward Staver with Avondale. John, do you have a idea?
Ward, we can barely hear you. I don't know if you- there you
Probably
go.
works if I pull the boom down. Sorry about that. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. John, I'm curious what cycle lengths you think you might be going up to on your effort for the pedestrian needs.
So initially it's about 132nd.
Okay.
That's what we're thinking. But if we have to go higher, we probably go higher, but yeah, between 130 and 140.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for John on this project? All right, hearing none, let's move on to the next one. This is where you come in, Margaret.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the ITS committee. So as we mentioned before, there's no action today. This was just for information and discussion. We'll be coming back in November for recommendation on the list of projects. Just to reiterate, if there were any items, I can't think of any through this discussion, but if there are any items that you want to amend or revise from your application from today's discussion, please make sure you do that as soon as you can and get that get a revised application into us. I do want to try to get those applications up on the webpage as soon as I can to give the committee more time to do the evaluation. And when we do that, the evaluation sheet will also be on the webpage, and we'll point you towards that. But as far as this item is concerned, I believe that's it, Mr. Chair.
Margaret?
Yes.
Ward Stanford with Avondale. Realizing that the applications right now are not visible to everybody. In my presentation, I guess I would like to add, for honesty and whatever, since this one is over capacity on funds, that we might have some construction impact during our project. And I just want that to be a part of the evaluation of the knowledge of it, so that if somebody has to be cut or if some fundings have to be short, it'll be to those that the good funding will be given to those that don't have any impacts or any concerns.
Thank you, Ward. Yes.
Thank you, Ward, for volunteering to be cut.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding. But
pretty much.
but the reality is on this, when you guys are looking at these and trying to make your decision, I believe Mohammed, had said, or Margaret, I can't remember who mentioned it first, we're about 60,000 over. So it probably is that one or two projects being cut. So, and then everything else should be funded, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, isn't it,
just to reiterate, I'm sorry, Ward, Mr. Chair, members of the ITS committee. Just to reiterate, yes, we are at 565,800 towards the 500,000 that is. So yes, it's about 66,000 that we are currently over requested. So.
Thank you for that clarification. Was there something else you wanted to say, Ward?
No, I'm good.
All right. Anybody else? All right. With that, if no one minds, how long do you think yours is going to take? He's got 30 seconds, and he's going to go ahead and take care of the updates from the federal arena for funding.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the ITS committee. Just to be brief, wanted to provide the upcoming grant deadlines and just highlight that the charging and fueling infrastructure grant has been extended. That deadline is now September 11th, Wednesday. And if you want to get a full list of the upcoming grant releases and the expected grants like SS4A in the next coming season, I have provided a link to those full grants. But if you have any questions, you can always feel free to email me. That's all I got.
Thank you so much, Karan. Does anyone have any questions? I knew you would fit in. That's why. Margaret, did you have any updates that you wanted to provide on anything with MAG?
Not at this time, Mr. Chair. I wanted to make sure that we were able to answer everybody's questions during the presentation. So I've deferred our updates for November.
Sounds good. All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 6. Are there any requests from the membership for an item on a future agenda? I do have one that was brought up to me from Marshall Regal with the town of Queen Creek. I know he's not on here, but it sounded like somebody was, but I didn't actually hear who that was. At least when you mentioned his name, I thought I heard something. So I don't know if Marshall is or isn't there, but I will bring it up. He just was wondering if there was a chance of possibly putting together something with the committee or a side committee of some type to try to look at how this TSOP funding may be able to be utilized a little bit more for items still related to signal timing. But and his example that he brought up was there's a lot of systems out there like the one that they are running now, and they could use some help better understanding it. And not that they don't understand it, in case you're on here, Marshall, but that getting some help with implementing and running it or whatever. And he would have to clarify exactly what he meant by that. But it might not be a terrible idea to kind of look and see at the focus of this TSOP funding and see if there is any room to expand, what may or may not be covered by it. That's all I will say. That's from Marshall, not me.
I mean, there's potential that outside of the TSOP, you can explore training opportunities or something like that for the various systems that he's interested in.
Sure. It was probably 3 weeks ago or something, not long after the last meeting, that he brought it up and asked me if I would at least bring it up. And I thought he would be here, but apparently not. Yeah. So you're my witnesses. I brought it up. Is there anything else that anyone else would like to suggest for a future item?
Is that a question, Mike? So I recall the TSOP programs had the synchro training included as well. Is that no longer included?
Margaret, you may know better than me, or possibly Mohammed. I'm not sure if that was funded through this or through Aztec completely, or if it was a combined effort. I honestly can't remember for sure, but I don't know if it's coming back or not. But these guys would know better than me. I don't know if you're going to provide any synchro training.
So for the 2025 year, the budget has been reduced, so it's not necessarily included in that 500,000. And we are getting ready to develop our next Unified Planning Work Program, and so we're hoping to include it again in that next budget.
Would you like that added as far as just an update on that in the future then, Simon?
Sure.
All right.
So noted. Thank you.
Is there anything else? All right. Hearing nothing else, the next agenda item is comments from the committee. Are there any comments or announcements, from the membership? Do you want to go ahead and just go through everyone? Okay, we'll go through the room first. We'll go ahead and start with Ellie.
We don't have any updates this month.
All right. Micah?
No updates from City Mesa.
John?
Just the one-on-one update. You guys already know that.
All right.
Nothing more from FHWA.
After working professionally for 40 years and 30 years in the Arizona State Retirement System, I'll be retiring next month. The announcement for my position is out right now. So if you're interested in becoming a city traffic in the city of Maricopa, please apply.
Thank you. And you will be missed. I miss hearing an update every, 5 to 10 years on where you might have moved. So.
Right. Thank you. Although I have been at ASU for 29 years. So
that's true. That's the longest one. And I'm sure you'll still be there. So.
Yeah, I still plan to continue working at ASU.
All right.
Congratulations, Scott.
Yes.
Thank you.
That is a big achievement. Like I was saying. Anything from McDOT?
I will defer to the real David Lucas.
David, are there any updates from McDOT if you're on?
Yes, we've had some staffing changes. We've been fortunate to fill our ITS operations engineer position in the TMC, which John is very happy about, I'm sure. We also have a new ITS network administrator. Tristan DeSoto has moved up into that position, vacating his former position of ITS network engineer. So that position will be out for recruitment very soon. And that's all we have.
The one question I will have on that John, are you going to be attending these from now on, or is this like a one-off?
one off. I was just here to present the TSOP.
Okay, just wondering, David, if we're taking your name off or something, but I guess not.
No, you're stuck with me for a little while longer, Mike.
As we are happy to be stuck with you. Go ahead. Anything from you, Simon, City Phoenix?
A few updates on our projects. So we did have a project with the yellow change interval study. Initially, it started as a phase 1. We're now going to the phase 3. So that started with the whole 2020 IT guidelines with the yellow change interval recommendations. So phase 1 involved studying the yellow change interval equations. Phase 2 involved going into the all red intervals. And then now phase 3, we've expanded the study area from 12 to an additional 30 intersections. The initial deployment was using the MyoVision technology, and phase 3 will be going into the no traffic detection systems. We got our Ahwatukee connected vehicle test bed underway. About half the signals of the 38 have been equipped with RSU radios. We'll be putting together a demo with our fire department. This will be mainly focused on EVP functionality. Some hope with our SMART grant project. That's also going to be underway. Just waiting on one procurement contract to be finalized, but giving a background, there's 2 components of the project itself. Component 1 will be along the Grand Canal with 10 Hawk signals, upgrading them with the Iteris video and pedestrian detection systems. And then an additional 20 intersections of no traffic, which would be component 2, around the Glendale Avenue area, which was originally a MAG's program, Emerging Technology Program, sorry. Kind of more of an expansion on that with signal optimization and connected vehicle technology as well. Last update we gave, we finally got approved to actually move forward with our ATMS upgrades. So we're now transitioning from the TransCore Transsuite system to the Kimley-Horn kits. So hopefully we'll get that wrapped up probably within 12 to 18 months. NAU, we also have another study with NAU. They've kind of investigated, did kind of a white paper on the leading pedestrian interval. So we'll have a final report to share probably in the next month or 2. Also with ASU, we have the we have been evaluating the Iteris ClearGuide platform. So kind of using it on both rounds, one for the traffic management element, and then we've partnered with our PD, who's a stakeholder in this project, and they'll be using it for the kind of quote unquote smart enforcement initiatives. So any one of these projects, if it pleases the committee, I'd be happy to present or give further details on it, or invite the school over to have them present as well. And lastly, we will be having an advertisement for a traffic engineer 2 for our ITS engineering team. And sorry, one more, I almost forgot. We do have a new or fairly new Deputy Director of Traffic Services now, Jorge Riveros, who happens to be in the room today. So if I haven't announced it before, I apologize. That's all for updates.
All right. I'm assuming he's referring to himself. Are you, or who's in the room? I missed the last part of that, I guess.
Sorry, Jorge Riveros.
Okay.
Deputy Director.
All right. Well, congratulations. And that's exciting. It sounds like there's a lot of projects. I'm sure some of them we would love to, see a presentation on at some point, in the future when you're ready. And with that, I guess I'm the last one here in the room. I'll just do a brief update. And I know there's a lot of things going on with everyone, but the one thing that is more, I guess, regionally centered is the Higley Corridor. The project that was referred to earlier, by McDOT, by John, was basically end to end on Higley, basically from US 60, but 60 is Mesa's. So just barely south at the hospital there, all the way down to Riggs Road. They've been doing an evaluation of their product, and I believe that ends in October, I think, is when that project is finalized. But U of A is doing a before and after study. And on the south half of that project, Kittleson did, we'll call it a hands-on retiming as one of these TSOP projects recently. And they're doing a comparison between some of what their, AI-based Software was making a suggestion and some of what, Kittleson was making a suggestion and some of those different approaches and just kind of document some of that through, and I'm sorry, it was NAU, not U of A, that is doing that. It's MagLink, but that's about all that I have to report on. With that, we'll move to those online. If you want to handle that, Mohammed. All right.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Elisa Dole from City of Chandler.
No updates from Chandler.
Amy Lynn.
No update from Town Queen Creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Hugh Biak from City of Goodyear.
Nothing for Goodyear. Thank you.
John Willett from City of Buckeye.
Just a couple of things real quick. Our Verado Yuma ITS project is about ready to start pulling some fibers. We're excited about that. The other one is the big news. We did fill the replacement for Frank. Bruce Dressel started at the city yesterday. So I think most of you may know that name. So he may be taking my place in future ITS MAG meetings, so you don't have to listen to me ramble anymore. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Marty Ziek from Valley Metro.
Nothing this month from Valley Metro.
Raquel Fiats from City of Apache Junction.
No updates from Apache Junction.
Thank you. Ruben Lopez from City of Glendale.
City of Glendale is looking to activate 7 new traffic signals within the next 7 to 8 months within Glendale, more on the west side, as that area is developing rapidly. And ITS Group is just ramping up for Cardinal season. First home game there is on the 15th of this month. So that's pretty much what we're up to right now.
Thank you. Steve McKenzie from City of Peoria.
And no updates from Peoria at this time.
Thank you. Susan Anderson from ADOT.
Yes, good morning. Just some staffing updates for those that may not be aware. There was a recent promotion. Audra Merrick is now the division director over the multimodal planning division at ADOT. So big congratulations to her. Also, for those that may not be aware, ADOT's TSMO division director, Brent Kane, did retire on August 19th. So those are the big changes happening over at ADOT. Thanks.
Thank you. Tessa Whistle from City of El Mirage.
Nothing to report from El Mirage.
Thank you. Ward Stanford from City of Avondale.
Nothing from Avondale. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes reports from the committee member attending virtually.
Thank you, everyone. I'll just point out one thing, Ward, you're always last. If you want to be first, you can come here in person and we'll, get to you earlier.
Okay, thank you.
All right. The next meeting, this is the adjournment of the Intelligent Transportation Systems Committee, will be on Wednesday, November 6th, 2024 at 10 a.m. If in the meantime, if you guys have any questions, because I know there's a little bit of delay between, please reach out, to MAG staff if you have any questions and the interim, and I'm sure they'll get back with you. With no further business today, this meeting is adjourned.